Kia ora, good evening. Tourism is one of New Zealand's biggest export sectors, and a new national tourism framework is hoped to further boost the industry. Tourism 25 Growing Value Together was launched today with an aim to almost double the tourism industry's economic contribution to $41 billion over the next decade. Martin Snedden of the Tourism Industry Association says the plan is to create a united sense of direction for tourism operators under a set of goals, and the biggest, extracting more value from tourists. He says the focus on visitor numbers needs to shift to focus on getting more from high-spending tourists and finding out what they dislike about their New Zealand experiences. Meanwhile, February had the highest number of international visitors ever recorded, up 7% on last year. The February 2014 visitor arrivals record of 2.77 million was largely driven from Australia and on par with the same time last year. There were less visitors from China and Hong Kong, but more arrived from the United States and Germany. And it was also a record month for offshore departures, with almost 117,000 Kiwi residents departing in February, up 6% on a year ago. Over the year, residents took 2.21 million trips abroad, according to Statistics New Zealand. Keeping those holiday makers safe and accommodation providers on an even playing field are the two main reasons Southland District Council is ensuring holiday home owners letting property for short-term accommodation obtain the necessary consents to fit the scale of accommodation activity and how it's undertaken.
And essentially what our concern is primarily around the safety aspects of that. If you have large numbers of people in a residential dwelling like that, it can raise issues about how safe the building is, how easy people can get out in a fire, whether they've got appropriate disabled accessible facilities, etc. And I guess the other thing that's being raised in the area is that the people who run commercial facilities that are consented, like hotels and motels, are saying, well, we have to go through all these compliance costs and compliance processes, and then we've got all these other buildings being offered without having to go through those processes. So they're concerned about it from a level playing field point of view.
Homestays, bed and breakfast and holiday homes are really the key ones that you're looking at?
Yes, that's right. And effectively what we've done is we've set a threshold of a maximum of 5 guests that people can accommodate without needing a building consent or a resource consent. And that threshold's based on the provisions of the Building Act. If they go beyond that scale, then they do need a resource consent and a building consent, and those aren't insurmountable processes, but they do involve input from adjoining owners and also can involve from structural work needed to be done on the buildings themselves. So
just to clarify, if it's a holiday home, they can have 5 people staying there for one night at a time and still advertise it as a holiday home without having to go through resource consent to change that?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, we have asked that those people tell us if they're doing that, so we've got a record of that, so we know what the maximum occupancy is. We've also suggested they might want to talk to their insurance company, because sometimes, depending on the insurance company, they can have some differing positions on if you just own a holiday home for your own use versus if you've got the building for effectively a commercial rental.
Also, it's possibly skewing the stats of actually who is coming into the province and staying, because they're not being collected, those people that are staying in private accommodation like that, as an official visitor, if you like.
Yes, that's possible. We don't collect those stats ourselves, so I'm not sure on that. But I guess at a national level, if we're trying to advocate for more resources based on visitors coming into the area, if there's a whole lot of visitors that we don't know about, that could potentially be to the detriment of the province as well.
What's your reaction been from holiday homeowners about this?
I've spoken to quite a number of the people that we've written to, and as have a number of other staff. Generally they've been quite amenable to talk to and quite cooperative, and they can actually sort of understand it, particularly from the point of view of, they can sort of see it from the point of view if they were operating a motel or hotel, how they might feel about it. So by and large, with the odd exception, it's been pretty positive.
The 2013 Trustpower National Community Awards were underway in the city over the weekend. 25 regional award winners participated in the event that included presentations judged by a panel of independent judges at Invercargill Civic Theatre on Saturday. The awards celebrate the efforts of volunteers, and this year's supreme winner was Marlborough's Mistletoe Bay Trust, who established an eco-village and campground that provides experience in future-proofing the environment. Runner-up was the Neurological Foundation Southern Chair of Neurosurgery representing Dunedin. Stay with us. Coming up after the break, Riverton hosts a heritage festival while a heritage app on the area proves a popular choice with travellers. Welcome back. Surrey Park Athletics Stadium was packed on Saturday as the annual Southland Primary Schools Athletic Championships got underway. Almost 1,000 7 to 12-year-olds competed in an age group for all things track and field, including sprints, relays, long jump and high jump, discus and shot put. Athletes came from all over the district to compete, including some from South Otago. The primary schools event is Southland's biggest athletics event and is thought to be unique to the South, with every school in the province taking part. The day of competition is run by teachers, volunteers and officials with support from Athletics Southland. The annual Heritage Festival was in full swing in the Riviera of the South over the weekend, with plenty of fair weather pulling in the crowds. Celebrating Southland's home harvest, the Riverton Festival's a chance for southern produce growers to share their most interesting fruit and vegetables. Organisers say there were plenty of return visitors this year, with some travelling from as far away as Dunedin and Christchurch to attend workshops on offer. Tutors showed guests how to tackle home brewing, preserving foods, saving seeds and flax weaving. Beginners beekeeping and urban backyard planting also proved a hit, along with interactive displays.
They've been well attended, but the intent of people in there, they're not just going in there to be entertained, they actually want to learn these things that we're talking about, seed saving or brewing beer or preserving fruit in jars or whatever it is. They really want to know. There's a genuine interest in the community.
Organisers say there's been a steady development over a long time towards self-sufficiency and learning traditional techniques.
They talk about critical mass. Everybody knows a bit about it now, and some people know quite a lot, and there's just enough now for something like this to really appeal and for people to make the effort and come out and go in order to find out, rather than just sort of see it in a magazine and flick past thinking that's quite interesting. Now they're thinking, I'm going to do that, and this is the perfect venue for that, because you can learn and you can see what it's like and talk to people who are doing it.
Mr Guyton says it's the older generation of gardeners in the area that are the real experts, and the event provides the ideal venue to showcase locally grown produce that included broccoli the size of 2 dinner plates and carrots the size of forearms. An ancient Chinese spiritual practice, Falun Dafa, was also on show and includes standing exercises and meditation to improve moral character.
It's spread across the globe, and now it's practiced in over 130 countries by, I think the book has been translated into multiple languages as well, so there's probably currently about 100 million people practicing all over the world.
Supporting the concept of the Harvest Festival, Ms Shakespeare says a healthy mind is a good fit with what's on offer at the event.
Yeah, I've been really tied up with volunteering, doing the Falun Dafa booth, and then doing all the classes. I'm very enthusiastic about what they're doing here, and I feel like Robert and Robin are doing amazing things in this community, and I really appreciate what they're doing. And I just got involved with this all just tied in so naturally because I'm involved with the co-op. I'm just doing a bit of volunteering there. So, and yeah, I think that this kind of festival is exactly what the Southland community needs.
This year was the 6th Riverton Heritage Harvest Festival, and like all things well fed, every year the number of stallholders and workshops is growing. Marco Sutherland, South Today News. The historic trails that surround Riverton are getting plenty of exposure thanks to a mobile application that was launched at the end of last year. The mobile app Story, launched by Venture Southland, has had over 3,000 views and about 450 scans at sites around the Riverton-Aparima South Coast Heritage Trail. Barcodes on signposts and brochures link tourists to an oral history of the area or can be downloaded ahead of time to use offline. Most of the content is duplication of tourism brochures, but it's hoped that adding new stories will enhance tourist travel experiences in the south.
With this Riverton Heritage Trail, we've sort of started picking off what we can do with audio and sort of thinking about video as well, so looking at really enhancing the experience for people.
How might you do that, enhance that going forward?
Oh, well, it's really, the mind boggles as to what you could do with it. So you could have a historical reenactment at a site or something you're doing for an event and try and capture that and then retell it through video on an ongoing basis.
So a good number of people picking it up. Have you had any feedback to date?
We've had a wee bit of feedback just from locals really, who are pretty, like local museums and stuff, like we had the Thornbury Museum, are pretty impressed with what it can do. We recorded an old poem that was written about their development and had that read out, and they're pretty impressed by the technology, so yeah.
So as far as feedback on the history of the region, you say that people like to come here because they like the history that we offer. Are we trying to just enhance that with this application?
Yeah, so we did a perception survey of New Zealanders and people living in New Zealand to find out what they thought about Southland as a tourism destination, and history of our region is fast growing. It's bigger than walking and hiking now in terms of attractiveness of our region.
There's still a call obviously for hard copy material. What kind of cost comparison do you think that might be between the two mediums?
Oh, it's pretty cheap by comparison. By the time you add up what a brochure costs to distribute and things like that, it's not just the printing costs, and there's a wee bit of waste there as well. But it's probably one of the big advantages is it's instant, so we can really just change content quite quickly, hide content, run short promotions and switch it off again and save it for next year and all sorts of stuff. So yeah.
There's scope to develop it from what you've got at the moment though.
There is, yeah, there's definitely, and we're keen to hear, particularly from history groups and things like that, about how they'd like to use it, because the platform's there and we've got access to it, so we just really want to make visitors have a good experience and think of creative ways to do that.
Surf, sun and sand proved the ultimate combination for a group of children at Amaui on Saturday. The Fun Day Out was designed to stretch the communication and peer support skills of those involved through chocolate wall building and testing their patience with blind obstacle courses on the beach. Children also had kapahaka lessons with an instructor teaching rakoi and poi before finishing the day with sandscaping and art. The event was run by Ngakete Mātauranga Pounamu Charitable Trust, and the program's designed to reinforce positive behaviours and support children and whānau where choices and relationships need improved. Coming up tonight in sport, we catch up on the weekend Super 15 action and talk to the new Stags assistant coach, Hoani McDonald. From the news team, good night.